Thank you for joining us in our continuing series highlighting friendship and promoting tourism and culture. Our special today is dedicated to Brazil, the largest country in South America and the fifth largest in the world. Its population of over 200 million demonstrates a diverse mix of race, religion, country of origin, and cultural heritage. Today we have the honor of having His Excellency Congressman Eduardo Bolsonaro, the son of President Bolsonaro. He'll share his thoughts on his great country, past, present and future, following these messages. We have the honor of having with us right now His Excellency Congressman Eduardo Bolsonaro. Sir, it's such an honor to have you with us. Good Lord, it's been a while since I met you in person in Palm Beach, more than a year ago. And here we are doing this by Zoom because of this very strange time in history with the pandemic.
Hi, Mr. Peritz. My honor to be here speaking with you again. And thank you very much to give me this opportunity to talk with other people around the world.
Oh, absolutely. It's our honor, sir. And I'd like just to ask you all sorts of informal questions, if possible. For example, a lot of concern people have is because Brazil is in the forefront of global importance, environmentally and other, what is being done by your present government to protect the essential rainforest?
Thank you very much about the question. This is something that we really want to answer around the world, because what happened here in Brazil, Mr. Peritz, is that we have a conservative president that got elected without any university, any mainstream media, union, whatever. We don't have nothing here in Brazil conservative. We only have the people that voted in the president Jair Bolsonaro. So at this point, what we are doing here, for sure, we are improving technology. We are receiving even help abroad. For example, Mr. Trump, former president of US, helped us during a G7 meeting that was asked by Mr. Macron from France. And they had, for example, the target to blame Brazil for everything about environmental issues. And Trump saved us from this kind of policy. And we accepted help from Israel. We are sending airplanes around Amazon, to stop the fire. But what people have, it's necessary to have in mind is Amazon is the same area of Europe Union. Can you imagine that? You have to take care about all of that area. Amazon is more than 60% of the territory of Brazil. And more than that, 85% of Amazon is still like that since the creation of the world. So what we are doing is we have to take care of Amazon, but our main problem nowadays is about fake news and people that want purposely misunderstood information. Why? We just signed, Mr. Peritz, just signed 1 year ago, we signed agreement between Mercosur, which it is Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Brazil bloc, and European Union. Macron is really afraid that our agriculture products go really fast into Europe. So they want to protect Europe, but it's very ugly. You go to the press and say that you don't want Brazilian products in Europe, but you want your wine coming to Brazil. So what do? They blame Amazon for everything. They say, no, Amazon is under fire. And they repeat that so much that people that for sure is not going to Amazon, they really think that Amazon is taking fire. But Amazon is like, there is so much water there, so much humidity. That's impossible. Even if you want, take fire on the forest. What happened, going to the end, what happened in the forest is on the boards, on those areas that are already the forest, sometimes it takes fires, but not the core of the forest. That's why here we are also inviting a lot of authorities abroad to come to visit the Amazon and to take a look. And aside of that, our environmental minister, Ricardo Salles, started a program where he lets you to adopt a park in Brazil. So you can give money to preserve that park. Doesn't matter if you are a company, if you are in Brazil or outside of Brazil. So these are some of the actions of the government going on right now.
That's very interesting, sir. And actually, I too would love to visit the Amazon and personally see the things you are saying. And of course, it's very important. It's a tragedy that in this beautiful world, there are so many lies by omission and so much fake news dwelling on perhaps some facts, but carefully and cleverly hiding from the public other facts that would give the audience a different perspective of the truth. So this is like worse than a plague. I never realized how insidious the lies by omission, the misinformation is that occurs in our modern world.
Yes, Mr. Peritz. If we go back to 2019, the first year of in the office of President Jair Bolsonaro, Macron made a tweet saying that 20% of the oxygen of the world comes from Amazon forest. He said that Amazon is the lungs of the world. But nowadays, everybody knows, every children that are in the school, elementary school, they know that the oxygen came from the oceans, from the planktons, not from the Amazon forest. And more than that, there is other fake news that people say around the world that we are forcing Amazon to plant, to grow up with the cows, you know. And the funny thing is, if you cut the trees of Amazon, maybe you can use the land for 1 or 2 seasons of, I don't know, whatever, beans, rice. But after that, the land is not good anymore. What makes the land in Amazon good is exactly the trees that fall down. So you have organic material to feed the territory, to feed the land. Without the trees going down, the land is really poor. It's not good to have good agriculture. And if you take a look in the map, you are going to see that the agriculture in Brazil is especially in the middle of Brazil, not in the north, in the Amazon area.
Congressman, this is fascinating information which I wish the whole world and the public in general would address. Your government has been very friendly with the previous administration here and with Israel, and now that there's a new administration here, do you feel that Brazil will have a good partner for communication with the new Biden government?
We are working this relation. Our chancellor already talked with the chancellor, with Mr. Blinken in US, the ambassador of US in Brazil, Mr. Todd Chapman. Now he's in Washington, working maybe as soon as possible in a call between Biden and Mr. Bolsonaro. So we are trying to rebuild this relation, focused in what we agree and not in what we do not agree. Here in Brazil, we are conservatives, so we are pro-life, we are against abortion, we are against gender ideology and all of that. But for sure, we have a lot of economic reasons to be together. We can work together in technology. So we are finding what we can do together and propose this negotiation. Because more than that, if we don't have a good negotiation and a good relation with US, we very probably are going to have with other big countries, as you know. So we want to be friends of the United States because we still see the United States as a bright country with a lot of good people. And in the words of President Jair Bolsonaro, he always says that he is in love by the American culture. So here, the mainstream media in Brazil is cheering for a fight between Biden and Jair Bolsonaro. I don't think this is going to happen. And they say that the good relationship between Brazil and US it was only because you had presidents that had the same world vision with Trump and Bolsonaro. I say that we are more than that. We have matured enough to build a strong Western hemisphere together. And only to end, Mr. Peritz, for the whole history of Brazil, United States was the #1 trade partner of Brazil. The whole history, except during the 30s, when we had a president here in Brazil called Getúlio Vargas, and he was really close of Hitler. So the Germans became our first trade partner during the 30s. And nowadays, since 2009, we have China as our first trade partner because the last governments, administrations here in Brazil, they were doing foreign affairs and international business by the thinking, by ideology, not following the market, not following the market reasons. I don't know if I make myself understandable, but we want to get back this good relationship with US because we think this is natural.
Yes, of course, common denominators, cooperation and friendship. Nobody has to agree on everything. Who in the world ever does? But this is called the Shalom Show, which means peace. And we are delighted that your great country, the 5th largest in the continent, has good relations with Israel, and the president of Brazil is friendly with the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, and we celebrate that and appreciate that very much. What is the importance of Brazil's relationship with Israel?
All the importance. I have to go back a little bit to 2015 to tell a story, because maybe people don't know that much. 2015, we had here our former president, Dilma Rousseff, from the Labour Party. So when we came here, the new ambassador of Israel, Dani Dayan, what Dilma Rousseff made is refuse it with no arguments, the credentials of Mr. Dani Dayan. So Mr. Dani Dayan went to US to represent Israel in US, and we stayed here in Brazil for a couple of years without an Israeli ambassador here in Brazil. So we had a very bad relations with Israel at that time, and then we impeached the former president, Dilma Rousseff, and the vice president, Temer, so he took office. And then Israel sent again other ambassador to Brazil, which was Mr. Yossi Shelley. Ambassador Yossi Shelley started a work here in Brazil, and then it became very good when Jair Bolsonaro got elected. It was the first time in history after the independence of Israel that we had here in Brazil the Prime Minister, which was Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, that came here for the inauguration of Jair Bolsonaro at January 1st of 2019. which was like a party here in Brazil. We were together with Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, his wife Sarah, and his son Yair, all around in synagogues, on the streets. And it was very funny to see Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu like a rock star around the streets here. Really love it. You can see it by YouTube on the videos. And after that, the relations only got better. On the Brazil side, we had to thank Israel because you sent IDF troops to help us here in a disaster that happened here in a mine called Brumadinho. After that, you also sent some support for us about the fires in Amazon. We signed agreements in the defense area, technology, water, and so much other areas, education. So we have a field to go together because we are in the same way of thinking, and we want to be together. We want to be together with nations that are good, with nations that are example all around the world, like South Korea, Japan, Israel, US. And on the previous government here in Brazil, what we had is relations with Venezuela, Ecuador, Argentina, with all of those countries, only because the president of those countries are left-wing. So this is something that we are very proud, and I'm very happy that I'm going to be part of a Brazilian committee led by our Chancellor Ernesto Araújo that is going to Israel soon. Like in 2 or 3 days, we are going to travel to Israel to get a memorandum of understanding about the new Exo CD24, which is a medicine against the coronavirus. And we want to bring it to Brazil to do the tests here in Brazil. And then if it gets effective, and for sure, if God wants, it's going to be, we are going to apply and save a lot of lives here. So thanks, Israel, once more. Thank you, Benjamin Netanyahu, and all of the team from Hadassah.
This is all wonderful news, and of course, cooperation is essential. People should have their priorities in the right place and not let partisan politics interfere with what's really important in this world today. So I applaud and salute what you're saying. And I'd like to point out that commerce and cooperation in medical research is important as well. In fact, our main sponsor, Life Extension, is in the forefront of age reversal and research into health. And their products, based here in the United States and of course distributed worldwide, has been having difficulty importing or exporting rather products to Brazil. And perhaps you could assist with this, because I hear that people fill suitcases with their products and then go back to Brazil because they can't get it any other way. And there are other companies here involved with the research and medical health situations and goals that we'd like to share. And perhaps, I hate to ask, but perhaps you could point us in the right direction so we can help create more understanding in the essential area of health research and cooperation.
We know that here in Brazil, we also have a lot of bureaucracy, and we are fixing that. Sometimes I feel the shame, but we are not going to fix a country that stayed 30 years on the left-wing hands. We are not going to fix that in 1 or 2 years. We need more time. But we like to receive kinds of advice like this. So we have to reduce our bureaucracy. That's why here in the Congress, we have two main issues that we are working here in the Congress. One of those is the tax reform, because we have a lot of laws about the taxes, and usually foreign investors got crazy with that. So we are also working in this situation. And yes, Brazil, basically what I have to say is that Brazil is turning from a socialist country to a free market country. And it takes time because, as you know, everything has to go to the Congress, almost everything has to go to the Congress, but we are doing our homework.
This is good news. And by the way, we are very intrigued with your great country. In fact, my representative in Brazil, Alex Podmore, is trying to set up interviews for us with ministries of tourism and health and commerce and industry. And when I finally get to Brazil, I will be honored, sir, to meet you in person and do an update interview if possible.
Tourism in Brazil is really good. For example, Amazon. Amazon is a safe place that you can go. You have cruises going to to the Amazon. You have in the northeast or northeast of Brazil, a lot of beaches. We have culture, we have food. So we have a plenty of things that are good to attract the tourists. Looking forward to less bureaucracy, we started in the first year that we are not requiring any more visas from people from US, Japan, Australia, and Canada. So maybe this is something that we can do together also with Israel to attract more travelers from Israel to come to Brazil. And we are trying to change here our public company for the tourism. We are trying to change some things in its structure so they can do propaganda abroad. This is something that we have to do too, that invest money to show Brazil around the world. And by the law nowadays, you can't do that. So we need to do our homework and improve our tourism. But for sure, we have qualified people here that speaks English, and we are able to receive people from everywhere from the world. To prove that, we had here in 2014 the World Cup, and in 2016 the Olympic Games, which was very nice. And I think that we are going year after year to improve our tourism here in Brazil.
What you're saying is most impressive, and really, again, it makes me think about the difference between you, sir, Congressman Bolsonaro, and your sincerity in this interview as compared to dozens and dozens of interviews I've done before with other people in other countries. And back to politics and other situations. Here in the United States, gun control has become such a big controversial deal. How are things going in your country?
Here we are against gun control. What we had in Brazil is that a strong law since 2003 that got approved. Just remember, it was the first year in office of our former president, Lula da Silva. Look about what his concerns. At his first year in office, he approved a law here in the Congress, paying during a very huge corruption scandal that we call here as mensalão, which means that a monthly payment for congressmen to vote everything together with former President Lula. So the Congress approved it in 2003, this new law that for me is so strong about gun control that I don't say even it is gun control, it's a gun restriction. So we had here in 2005 a public consulting, and people said, no, we don't want to stop the dealings about guns. We want to buy our guns on the store and have it at home, at least at home. But the Labour Party, with Lula and then with Dilma Rousseff, they didn't care about what people want. So they kept on with these gun control rules, with other presidential regulations. And what Mr. Jair Bolsonaro made when he took office, he changed the regulation. So we have nowadays even at least the possibility to buy a gun to have it at home. So numbers of 2019 in Brazil, we had the sellings of guns going up 84%. And the rate of murders went down 20%. So more guns, less murder. I could say other kind of crimes like robbery, kidnappings that also went down, but only to have in mind like less 20% of murders. And if you take a look in history, only dictators want to control the gun of the people. If you go back, for example, with Hitler, the first thing that he made is like take the guns from the Jewish. If you go to China, to Pol Pot, to Fidel Castro, and any other kind of dictator, you're going to see that they love gun control. So as Democrats, we let the people do whatever they want. And with more guns at home, now you have criminals afraid to come into our houses. This is the new scenario of Brazil. This is how we are also improving our security here. Here in Brazil, a lot of people is talking that Brazil is going to be the safest place for Christians around the world. And in Christians, you can think that people who think in the Western Hemisphere like it is now, preserving the Jewish Christian values. Like here we have a president that is not caring about the politically correct. We are like a big ship that we are turning in 180 degrees the direction of this ship. So we are a new country. We are supporting the law enforcement. We are trying to preserve the Amazon. We are trying to do business all around the world with US, Japan, Israel, and all the other countries that want to do that without the content of the ideology. We are pro-life, against abortion. So this is the new Brazil that we are building. And we are very happy that we are so close with Israel. And even the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is going to receive us next week, even if we are not together with our president. So it shows a lot about our relations. And once more, I appreciate that opportunity that you, Mr. Richard, is giving to me, this young politician here from Brazil. For who doesn't know me, I'm the son of President Jair Bolsonaro. I'm the most voted congressman ever in the history of Brazil, and also the chairman of the Foreign Affairs and National Defense. That, by the way, we signed in 2019 a new tool that is going to let us, our committee here in Brazil, to receive information from the Foreign Affairs Committee, from the Knesset. So we are not depending anymore from any kind of fake news or misinformation about what is going on with Israel or in the Middle West. It shows a lot what kind of country we want to be together. So thank you, Mr. Richard.
I must thank you, sir. It is said of you that you are a leader in your country with a great future, the son of the president and a man of great integrity. And it is our honor to have you on this program, Congressman, and I look forward to meeting you in person when we can finally visit your great country.
It's going to be an honor. I will give you my personal cell phone, Mr. Richard. Whenever you want, come to here. I'm going to show you all around. And if possible, maybe go together to Amazon. I've been in Amazon as a federal policeman. Before I be a congressman, I'm also a lawyer and a federal policeman. And in the federal police here in Brazil, you can work anywhere in our territory. And in my first work, it was on the border between Brazil and Bolivia. A great part, the most part of the state is Amazon forest. It would be an honor to show to you how things work in the forest.
Congressman Eduardo Bolsonaro, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Shalom.
Shalom.
Life Extension has covered groundbreaking medical research for more than 35 years. For your health and future, you deserve the best. Learn more at lifeextension.com.
This concludes our special on Brazil. I'm Richard Peritz. Thank you for being with us.